Buonasera, this is Lisa with Lisa's Dolce Italia, and I am taking over Sarah's Facebook page once again this evening. Sarah is unable to join us because she's dealing with some technical issues, but we have promised you a recipe as we're promoting Piemonte this week, and so I'm going to teach you how to make a traditional Piemontese cake. Are you ready? Torta di Nocciole. So the Torta di Nocciole is a hazelnut cake, and I'm hoping you will be able to see me well enough as I'm preparing it. I wrote the recipes up on the description for this live feed, and we won't see it through to the end because it will take an hour to bake once it comes out of the oven, but I will post a picture afterwards, and it is super, super easy. You can ask me questions as I go along, and as I'm able to look at them, or before we finish the live stream, I will try to answer all of them that I have that you've sent me. Anyway, we are promoting Piemonte this week, so are we ready? I am going to try to put the camera over here, and let's cook. So first of all, your ingredients. 3 ingredients, super simple: hazelnuts, sugar, and eggs. A little butter for the baking dish, and that is it. It's going to take us 10 minutes to whip it up. And I am making a recipe for a very large cake pan. I like to use a silicone mold myself. This is about, I think it's probably a 12-inch, and so that's why I'm using basically a pound of hazelnuts. Whereas if you wanted to make a smaller recipe, the original recipe for this asks for, I'm going to give you the ingredients here in metric proportions because that's how I remember them, but it would be 300 grams of hazelnuts, 3 eggs separated, and 150 grams of sugar. I find that that recipe is a tiny bit too sweet for me, so I have enlarged it for my bigger cake pan and cut the sugar a little bit. I think if I were doing it with 3 eggs in an 8-inch cake pan, I would probably use 100, maybe 125 grams of sugar. So that's going to be between a half a cup and 2/3 of a cup, essentially. And so now I am buttering even though it's silicone and it's not supposed to stick, I made the mistake the other day of making this, and I didn't butter it at all, and it didn't look very pretty. My cake didn't look very pretty. So I figure, a little butter goes a long way in making it come out of the pan easily. So we are greased. Okay, ready to go. And I'm going to wash my hands. I hope that my sound is okay. I'm going to check with you all before I continue going on. Since Sarah's not here to talk in my ear, sound is okay. Give me a thumbs up. These sticky fingers. Oh, mamma mia. Okay. I'm not seeing any comments that you can't hear me, so I'm hoping that you can hear me. I'm going to check very quickly though, because I need somebody talking in my ear. Okay. I can now hear that the sound is okay. Okay, here we go. So I have hazelnuts that I just buy in bulk. These are already toasted, and because it's going to make so much noise, perfect. Derek, thank you for giving me the A-OK on the sound. Toasted hazelnuts, this is a 1 kilo bag. So I went and bought them in a bulk store. Easier that way, but we can also just go and get them anywhere here. I'm not sure about the States anymore because I haven't bought them. I have put them in my food processor, and I have almost ground them completely, so I'm going to give them one last zap because you want them to be pretty fine for this recipe. Let's take a look at this, and we are looking at very nicely ground up hazelnuts, okay? I'm going to put this into a separate bowl here, and they're nice and oily, so they've stuck to the bottom. This cake has a really nice texture, and the one thing I love about it actually is if you make it a day ahead, it's honestly even better. It's one of those cakes that on day 2 and day 3 is delicious. So there are my hazelnuts. That's gonna be popped into the sink. And eggs. Oops, I didn't get my eggs. I need 5 eggs. Okay, so our eggs get separated, and what I always do is beat my whites before I beat the yolks and the hazelnuts together, because if the beaters have any fat on them, they tend not to work so well. So I have a lovely copper bowl, which is not necessary to beat your egg whites, but it works really well if you have one. This was a gift from a friend of my mother's, and so I love it because I think of her every time I use it. And I hope somebody's cooking along with me, but otherwise I hope you run out and get everything you need for this cake and make it yourself. Now, traditionally in Piemonte, they would serve this cake with a number of things. One would be zabaione. So that's made with egg yolks that are cooked on the stove and either blended with marsala wine, or we can sometimes use moscato, and they're beaten and cooked very slowly over bain-marie, and that makes a really lovely creamy sauce with sugar. And so that is a very nice combination with the hazelnut cake. Another thing that you can do with this cake that I love is just make a very simple chocolate ganache and spread it over the top. And it just looks very elegant, and you know, chocolate and hazelnuts are a fantastic combination, as we know from so many great things here in Piemonte. Another thing that you can do that's even easier is a whipped cream. I like kind of a boozy whipped cream myself, so I put vanilla extract that I've made with a shot of brandy in it. Okay, there are my eggs. And that is wonderful. I have a kitten underfoot here who is being a little naughty girl. Hello, naughty girl. She likes to knock the towels down to the ground in our kitchen. If I have a chance, I'll pick her up in a minute, but I'm gonna get moving on this cake. So, let's get the food processor out of the way. And let me see if, very good. Okay, and I'm gonna make a noise for a minute as we beat the egg whites. So your eggs have been separated, the egg yolks are in with the hazelnuts, and here we go. You're gonna want nice stiff peaks with your egg whites. If you're very sturdy soul, you can do it by hand. I'm lazy. I always use electricity when I can. And this is gonna just take a couple of minutes. We have been getting set up for Christmas today because today is the Immacolata. It is a holiday here in Italy. And it has been snowing all day, so our world has changed overnight. We got about 5 inches of snow today. It's very pretty outside. It's very cold. It's going to get into the 20s tonight. And it really does start to feel like Christmas that way. We got the tree put together and did a whole lot of nothing. Well, a whole lot of nothing. Eating today. A lot of eating today. Okay, my whites are whipping up really nicely in this bowl, as you can see. This is also a cake. I told you about all the things we put on top of it. I personally like it just the way it is. If you eat it for breakfast, eat it for dessert, eat it for a snack, mid-morning, mid-afternoon. It's all good. Okay, so I have nice stiff egg whites. And now I'm going to move on to, oh, and I forgot to preheat my oven. So my oven is being preheated to 150 degrees Celsius, which translates to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's gonna cook for an hour in that oven once I'm done. And the egg yolks now are going to get, oops, you know what, I think I made a mistake. Because I really should, well I shouldn't. I'm gonna beat my egg yolks and my hazelnuts together. I probably should have beaten my egg yolks a little bit before I put the hazelnuts in. But because I need to add the sugar as well, I should have done the egg yolks and the sugar together to make them nice and fluffy. And so I'm gonna put those together. I think I need a bigger bowl. And a cup of sugar is going into there as well. So let's get out the big bowl and get that put together. So when you're doing this at home, don't do what I just did. Beat your egg yolks a little bit first until they're nice and creamy. And put your cup of sugar in with the yolks and whip them up. So, but it's really the egg whites that add the air, so I'm not really worried about it. And I wish I had somebody talking in my ear. It's so weird to be talking to myself. I haven't done this for a while. Okay, so this is the mixture I'm putting together right now. I'm gonna try to show it to you. It's quite dry, and that's normal, okay? So I'm gonna try to get the big chunks out and make it, oh, there you go. You don't need to look at my boobs in a sweater, you need to look at the mixture I'm putting together. I'm trying not to make a gigantic mess of my kitchen. Okay, you get the idea there, I think. So just a couple minutes there, and we're good. And now I'm going to take my egg whites and fold them into the rest of this mixture. I'm going to make sure that I got my hazelnuts and my sugar beaten up really well. Looks good. And if you can, you know, Sarah was going to try to make this with almond flour today. And so if anyone feels like trying it with almond flour at one point, let me know how it comes out. I have another cake that I make with almond flour, but it's a little bit different recipe. So there go my egg whites. And we're going to fold that all together. Fold as gently as possible. You have to mix to a certain degree. But this cake still comes out fluffy enough, nice nutty flavor. So you know, hazelnuts are used really widely here in Piemonte because about 3% of the world's hazelnuts are grown here. A huge amount of hazelnuts are grown in Turkey, about 3% are grown in Oregon, and then various other places around the world. But the hazelnuts here in Piemonte are a special varietal. They're very different from the ones I've seen growing in the US, called the the Tondo Gentile. It's a very round hazelnut. Okay, there we go. That looks almost blended. So I'm folding up from the bottom, so we keep a lot of air in there, and I'm getting some pockets of hazelnuts that weren't getting mixed in very well. we go. And if you come on tour with me in Piemonte, you'll have a chance to taste a hazelnut cake with zabaione. Our tour, this is what we're promoting this week, is going to be in March, in the middle of March, on the 14th, I think is when it starts, or in September, on the 27th of September, and it's been turned into a 10-day tour because we've decided to include Torino after feedback from the first very successful running of the Piemonte tour. There we go. I'm just folding this into my cake pan at this point because we are essentially done. Grab the last little bits out of the bowl. So my oven takes forever to warm up since I didn't turn it on immediately. And so it's going to take about 10 minutes before I'm able to put this in the oven. But let's take a look. I've got my cake popped in the pan. It's going to bake for 1 hour at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I usually turn it about halfway through the baking process, and so it gets nicely browned on all sides, and that is all there is to it. Let it cool in the pan for a little while before you turn it out. If you're not using a silicone baking dish, I would consider probably putting a piece of parchment paper on the bottom of your cake pan and buttering the sides very well so that it doesn't stick, and then just turn it out. And like I said, zabaione, chocolate ganache, or just simple whipped cream, or just plain hazelnut cake all by itself is absolutely wonderful. So I hope that you like this recipe. I'm not seeing any comments that I can answer or questions that need to be answered. And so thank you so much for joining me from Piemonte. I'm going to take you outside really quickly and show you the snow before I say goodbye. And I'm just seeing a bunch of people. So let's turn the camera around. Are you ready for the snow? Here we go. Of course, it's dark. You're not going to see a whole lot. Kind of glowing. But I love my magnolia tree in the snow. And the moon is coming out, and it's about 28 degrees right now. So you're getting the Christmas glow. Alrighty. Pop back inside. Show you the naughty kitty. Hello, naughty kitty. The naughty kitty just escaped outside. Ciao, Chechi. Her name is Chechi, which means chickpea. Okay. One last look. Christmas tree. This is what we got up to today. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. There we go. Got a fire burning in the oven. My husband is watching tennis, his favorite pastime when he is not having to work. I would like you all to let me know how your cake comes out. And like I said, I will post a picture when mine is done. Have a fantastic day, and I will look for comments and questions from anybody, as I'm not seeing any right now. Buona giornata, or actually, buona serata. Thank you, Melanie. Ciao.